Hey guys, let us discuss few important concepts in the third chapter of your class 9th atoms and molecules. There are five important things which you have to go through. One is related to law of chemical combination, second is John Dalton atomic theory, third is atoms, ions and chemical formula, fourth one is related to mole concept, and the fifth one is molar mass and Avogadro's constant. And these are the prerequisites which is important for you to know, and we have already done that, so I don't think there will be any problem. You should know about all the states of matter. Also you should know about the differences in different states of matter. Okay, so let us begin with the first key concept, that is related to law of chemical combination. Okay, there are two laws of chemical combination. One is law of conservation of mass and the second one is law of definite proportion. Law of conservation of mass was given by a French chemist. His name is Antoine Lavoisier, and there's another person called Louis Proust. He gave the law of definite proportion. Okay, law of conservation of mass was given in the year 1774, and after of many years it was the person called Louis Proust who gave the law of definite proportion. Okay, so let us discuss about each of this law one by one. Law of conservation of mass, it states that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed during a chemical reaction, or you can say for any chemical process in a closed system, the mass of the reactants must be equal to the mass of the product. So there is no change taking place in the mass of the reactant and the products formed when a chemical reaction occur. Now coming to law of definite proportion, what it states that a chemical compound always consists of the same element combined together in the same ratio, or you can say that the ratio in which the individual elements are combining together, it remains fixed. Okay, it is irrespective of the method of preparation or the source from where it is taken. It doesn't matter what is the source of that chemical compound, the ratio of individual atoms or the element is going to remain the same. You can understand this with the help of the examples which are given here. Let's say the carbon is reacting with oxygen. Okay, these two are our reactants and they form the product called carbon dioxide. Okay, so let's say if carbon is 12 grams and oxygen is 32 grams, so the amount of product or the mass of the product formed is 44, and if you add 12 plus 32, that is also 44. So the mass of the reactant and mass of the product formed is the same. There is no change. So it is as per the law of conservation of mass. Now to understand law of definite proportion, look at this example where it is said that one molecule of a compound of water always contain the same ratio of hydrogen and oxygen. H2O, this is a molecular formula for water. Hydrogen atoms are 2 in number, so their mass is 2, and for oxygen the mass is 16, so the ratio becomes 1:8. So what we see that irrespective of what is the source for the water, the ratio of combination is the same. Hydrogen and oxygen always combine together in the fixed proportion. So based on the laws of chemical combination, Dalton gave Dalton's atomic theory. So let us read what the atomic theory was all about. Okay, so the first theory is that all the matter is made up of very small particles called atoms. Second one is that atoms cannot be divided. Third is atoms can neither be created nor destroyed. Now this third one, what you see, that atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed, this is in accordance with the first law of combination, that is law of conservation of mass, which talks about that yes, that the atoms are the smallest indivisible particle, they cannot be created, cannot be destroyed during a reaction. And the fourth point which is mentioned here is that atoms of various kinds are of various kinds. There are as many kinds of atoms as are elements. The fifth point talks about that all the atoms of a given element are identical in every respect, having the same mass and size and chemical properties. Okay, the sixth point talks about that atoms of different elements differ in mass, size and chemical properties. And the seventh point is that chemical combination between two or more elements consists in joining together of atoms of these elements to form molecules of compounds, and that is in the fixed ratio. Okay, so these are some of the important. So for Dalton's atomic theory, I would suggest you to go through the NCERT book, what the points are mentioned in your NCERT book. Okay, go through those points on page number 32. Okay, so now moving on to the next section, that is related to atoms, molecules, ions and chemical formula. This is the next concept, very important for you all to understand. Atoms. Let's talk about atoms now. Okay, now atoms, they are the smallest particle of an element, okay, which can take part in a chemical reaction. It may or may not exist freely. Each atom of an element shows all the properties of the element. Okay, so next one is molecule. The smallest particle of matter that can be element or compound which can exist in the free state. Okay, those that can exist in the free state as an element or as a compound, that forms the molecule. Now the properties of a substance are the properties of its molecule. So whatever the property of the substance, or let's say of the matter, will be, that same property will be of each and every molecules which is forming that matter. Okay, now molecules of elements. The molecules of an element are constituted by the same type of atoms. Molecule of an element, if it is a molecule of element, let's say it is O2. So O2 is a molecule of the element oxygen. It is constituting the same atom. Fine. Now when we talk about molecules of compound, atoms of different elements join together in definite proportion. Molecules of a compound will include the atoms of different elements, and they all are joined together in a definite proportion to form a molecule of the compound. Okay, so you can take the example of, let's say, CO2. It is a compound. It has atoms of different elements. One is carbon, another one is oxygen. Okay, but they are joining always in a definite proportion to form that molecule. Okay, so I hope now you are clear with these terms, elements and compounds. Okay, there can be a molecule of a single element, there can be a molecule of a compound. Fine. Now coming to the next topic, that is related to atomicity. Atomicity means what? Atomicity means number of atoms. Okay, number of atoms that are present or they are contained in a molecule of a substance. So it can be an element a molecule of an element or a molecule of a compound. We call that as its atomicity. So let us understand with the help of some example like ozone. Ozone chemical formula is O3. So what is its atomicity? Atomicity is the number of atoms that are present in O3. So there are 3 atoms as we can see, right? So atomicity is 3. For phosphorus, atomicity is 4, and for sulfur, atomicity is S8. So here we write 8 as that atomicity, and for oxygen is present in the free state in the form of O2. So the atomicity is 2. You have to keep in mind that whenever we take the atomicity, if that molecule in the elemental form or in the compound form, it has to be present in the free state. They are existing in the free state, like ozone is present as O3, sulfur is present in the free state as S8. So its atomicity is 8. Okay. Now we'll discuss about this. Based upon atomicity, molecules can be classified as monoatomic, diatomic and triatomic. Monoatomic molecules are usually noble gases like helium, neon, argon. Noble gases are those who have all the shells completely filled. Their last shell is completely filled. They are not in need of any electrons. Okay. So like helium, neon, argons means, in simple words, you can understand these noble gases are those that are least reactive, or they are not at all reactive. They don't need anything. They are just noble gases. They are not reacting. Okay. They are inert. They are inert gases. Helium is one of the example. Symbol for helium is He. Neon, Ne, and argon is existing as Ar is the symbol we use for argon. Okay, so argon is written as Ar, and they are present as it is. It is not like that argon present with another argon, or argon is reacting with something else. No. Okay, so they are inert elements. They exist alone. So we call them as monoatomic. They can exist in free state, okay, in their elemental form. Diatomic molecules are those that have 2 atoms of the same element present together. Let's say hydrogen. Hydrogen you will never see as H alone in the atmosphere. Hydrogen will be always present with another hydrogen. So always a hydrogen is bonded with another hydrogen, and that is how it exists in nature. Same thing is with oxygen. If it has to exist in free state in the atmosphere, it will be always bonded with another oxygen and it forms O2. And same thing is for nitrogen existing as N2, chlorine is existing as Cl2, carbon monoxide and HCl, hydrogen chloride. Here also there are two atoms. Okay, H is a symbol for hydrogen and Cl is a symbol for chlorine. Fine. Now the third one is the triatomic molecule like O3. O3 is a symbol for ozone. CO2 has 3 atoms. Okay, one is of carbon and 2 atoms of oxygen. So altogether there are 3 atoms present. So it is a triatomic. NO2 is also triatomic because it has 1 atom of nitrogen and there are 2 atoms of oxygen present in it. Okay. Now let us talk about the symbols. The abbreviation used to represent an element is generally the first letter in the capital of the English name of the element, but it is not always same, but usually it is the first letter. So oxygen, how we write or how we represent an element of oxygen by writing the letter O. Okay, oxygen is written as O, nitrogen is written as N. But when the names of 2 or more elements begin with the same initial letter, the initial letter followed by the letter appearing later in the name is used. Let's say for barium, we are using the first two letter of the word barium. When we write bismuth, we use the first two letter B and I to represent bismuth. Okay. Now, you can see some of these elements and their Latin name with their symbol and try to remember them. Like, some of the elements have derived their name from their Latin name. Sodium in its Latin name is natrium, and that's why its symbol is Na. We have taken Na from the word natrium. Same way for copper, in Latin it is called cuprum. So we have taken the first two letters of cuprum to represent copper as Cu. Okay. For potassium has come from the Latin word called kalium. So we use the symbol K. We have taken K from the word kalium. And iron in Latin it is called ferrum. So we have taken the first two letters Fe from the word ferrum. And mercury in Latin is called hydrogyrum. So we have taken H and G. Okay. And tungsten is called wolfram. So we have taken the letter W for tungsten. So this is how different elements have derived their symbol from the Latin name. Based on this, there are some questions which you can try to do. Give one example of each molecule of element and molecule of compound. How does an atom differ from a molecule? Name a triatomic gas. Okay, and name the element represented by Hg, Pb and Au. You can try finding out this. And what is the difference between an atom of hydrogen and a molecule of hydrogen? Yes. Now let us talk about ions. Now what are these ions? An ion is a charged particle, okay, formed by loss or gain of electron, or by gain of electron. Now what is cation? Cation are positively charged, okay, cations are positively charged. They are formed by loss of electrons, whereas anions, they are formed by gain of electrons and they are negatively charged. Okay, now coming to polyatomic ion. Polyatomic ion are a group of atoms that are carrying a charge is a polyatomic ion. Now here are a group of atoms, nitrogen is there, hydrogen is there, okay, it has got positive charge also, so it is an ammonium ion. And in the next one, CO3 2 minus, it is a carbonate ion with a group of atoms, like there is 1 carbon and 3 atoms of oxygen is also present, and it also has got 2 extra electrons, that's why it has a negative charge, so it is an anion. Whereas ammonium, here this one is a positively charged because it has lost its electron, it has got 1 positive charge, it's a cation. Okay, now let us talk about valency. The number of electron which an atom can lose, gain or share to form a bond is the valency. Okay, or you can say it is the combining capacity of an atom. Fine. So valency is what? The number of electrons which an atom can lose or gain or share, that is the valency, or you can say it is a combining capacity of an element. Now when we talk about chemical formula, a chemical formula is a short method of representing the chemical element and the compound, and there is a rule called as the crisscross rule which we follow to write the chemical formula. Okay, so let us see what is the rule. With the help of example you would be able to understand it better. Now let's say we have to write the chemical formula for aluminium oxide. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to write the symbol first. You have to write the correct symbol for both the elements. For aluminium it is Al, and for oxygen the symbol is O. Okay, you can see here aluminium Al and oxygen we write it with letter O. Now above each symbol write the correct valency, like what is the number what is the number of electrons that it can lose or gain. So we see that aluminium can lose 3 electrons, whereas the oxygen can gain 2 electrons. Okay, so crisscross the valence and drop the algebraic sign. So the valency of aluminium is 3 plus. Okay, so it shows that aluminium valency is 3, that means it can leave, or it can donate 3 electrons, whereas the oxygen can take electrons. Okay, so aluminium has the valency of 3 and oxygen has the valency of 2, so it forms Al2O3. Let us take one more example and you can understand it. Let's say for sodium chloride, we have to write the symbol. So for sodium, the valency is 1. Okay, sodium valency is 1. It has 1 extra electron. It can lose its electron to chlorine, and chlorine is in need of electrons. So it forms Na plus and Cl minus. Because both have got the charge of 1, we need not mention it when we write the chemical formula. It becomes NaCl. Now when the valency of both the elements are numerically equal, the subscripts are also not written. Let's say in case of calcium oxide, calcium valency is 2 and for oxygen also valency is 2. So we just write it as calcium oxide, CaO. Okay. Let us see one more example, that is when there are multiple number of individual polyatomic ions. Okay, what we have to do there? We must be use separate polyatomic ions from the subscript. So for ammonium sulfate, what we have to do? For ammonium, charge is +1 and for sulfate it is 2 minus. So it will become NH4 twice SO4, because NH4 valency is 1, whereas for sulfate valency is 2. Okay, so for the sulfate valency is 2, we will write this here next to NH4 plus, and for NH4 the valency is 1, so we will not be mentioning here, but we will just directly write SO4. Okay, coming to the next one, let's say tin 4 chloride. Now here the valency of Sn is 4 plus and for oxygen it is 2 minus, so it will be written as SnO2. What is happening here is actually when you write Sn and you write 4, okay, you will be writing 2 over here, and for oxygen you will be writing 4, so it becomes 2 ones are 2 twos are, so it only what remains here is SnO2. Okay, I'll just show it once again. We have to follow the crisscross rule, correct? So let's say I have written Sn, I wrote O. For Sn's valency is 4, so 4 I will write over here. For oxygen it is 2, so it will be written here 2 ones are 2 twos are 4. So what is the chemical formula finally? SnO2. Okay, now here are some of the examples and valencies which are given. You have to remember them, and as you write and practice you will remember it in much better manner. Okay, after this there is a mole concept that I will discuss with you all later on. Okay, thank you everyone.